Okay.
So, without completely spoiling my reviews for the Star Wars prequels, I will say that I didn't hate them like everybody, like a lot of people seem to do. I just don't. I don't hate them. I think there's a lot of good there. Just like I think there's a lot of bad in the original trilogy, but overall, I still like the original trilogy. It's just the way I look at movies is, of course, I'm going to be critical of the things that need to be critical, but I also acknowledge when things are done well and at least when I think things are done well. And I feel like there's a lot of unfair criticism on the prequels. And I think that's partially because of nostalgia reasons, but there's, again, people vary, like their reasons vary. But I think nostalgia is kind of a driving force behind a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. That being said, I was asked the question, if I could change one thing about the prequels, what would it be? And this was a difficult question for me. Not because I didn't recognize that there's bad stuff in the prequels, because there is some bad stuff in the prequels. But there's more of individual stuff that's bad in the prequels, and it was harder for me to figure out, because say episode 1, right? Jar Jar. Not a big fan of Jar Jar in episode 1. He does come off as annoying. I get what the reason was for having his character, and I don't hate him like everybody else. But at the same time, he was a bit of a misstep. And thing is, if I was like, oh, well, in order to fix the prequels, you just take out Jar Jar. Well, he plays a major part in episode 1, and he's very relevant to the story in episode 1. But he doesn't do as much in episode 2. And what he does do that people like to, kind of pin on him for, it could have been any character, it didn't have to be him. And of course, he's reduced to just a little cameo in episode 3. So that's not really that relevant to me. And that doesn't really affect the movies as much as affecting one movie. So, and the question was about the prequels, not one specific prequel, about the prequels. And then I had to think about it, because whatever I did in the prequels, whatever I chose to change, would in turn affect the Clone Wars, would affect Rebels, would affect the books that came out. So everything kind of branches off each other now. So you got to be real careful with that. And so what I thought, the answer that I came up with, if I could change one thing about the prequels, I would change the director. What? The director? Lucas? Wait, hold on. You just said that you didn't hate him. So why on earth, having not hated the prequels, would you change George Lucas? All right. Let me explain. The thing is, I'm not saying that George shouldn't be a part of the movies. Like, he isn't involved with The Force Awakens or any, Star Wars movie to come out after that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what you should do is, while he's a great storyteller, I think, and he's a visionary, and I think he should be very involved in the making of the prequels, I also think that there are better directors that would be more suited to actually doing the movie. And the reason being that George is not, and I think he's admitted this, and everyone knows this, he is not an actor director. He's not. He's got the visuals, he's got the story, but as far as being involved with the actors, and as far as bringing out the best performances from them, he just can't do that. And while I don't think that all the acting is bad in the prequels, and in fact there's aspects of acting that are good even from the people that are majorly bad, like Hayden, or some would argue Natalie Portman, I do think that there was kind of lost potential there because George just doesn't know how to direct them. He's just not good at that. He's good at showcasing action. He's good at, again, the widescape of the Star Wars mythos. He's good at all that, but he's not good at dialogue. He's not good at directing the actors. And for that, you kind of need someone on board. So, who would I bring? Well, I'm going to go with what might be an obvious choice for some, but I think it's a very good one. Steven Spielberg. I would have brought him in. Why? Because George and him are friends. They've been friends. They've worked together before. Steven Spielberg is a brilliant director. And he has a way of, like E.T., Jurassic Park, Jaws. He really makes the story more than what we even thought it could be. Jaws is literally just about a great white. But there's so much more to it because, Spielberg came along. He's really good at kind of filling in the weaknesses that Lucas has, whereas Lucas has the vision as far as the look of it and the story aspects of it. Steven Spielberg is so good at building characters. He's so good at the suspenseful moments. He's so good of everyone that's in the environment. So use him. And the fact of the matter is, when a line doesn't work, Spielberg could tell Lucas, and they could adjust it. Spielberg will, again, he'll work with the actors. He'll work with Lucas. It's one of those things where, yeah, Lucas he's going to be very much involved, and he should be involved. But I think Spielberg could help him out, and together they could make something really good. Now, the counter argument would be, well, how much they worked together on Indiana Jones 4, and people didn't really like that. But I think the passion that Lucas had, and yes, he had a lot of passion for getting the prequels done. And he's very hurt by the reception of them. But I think the passion that he was trying to put in, that he's showcasing into these, I think that the story that he wanted to tell and the limitations he had kind of held the movies back a little bit from people. I think those could be fixed by having Steven Spielberg in there, and that way the story is still, and all, like, the basis of the story is still the same. It's still going to end the same. There's still same beats to it, so it still works with Clone Wars. It still works with the books. It works with everything that's canon, so it doesn't overtly affect that. But the character performances themselves will be elevated. The storytelling itself will be elevated. And I think the scope of Star Wars would be fixed in many people's eyes because of what Spielberg can bring. Because when you have movies like E.T. or Jurassic Park or Jaws or any number of Spielberg films out there, he does a very good job of showcasing the characters. So anyway, if I could change one thing for all three movies that affects all three movies, but at the same time doesn't, hinder with continuity and everything else, that's what I would do. But that being said, I'm curious what you guys would think. Whether you agree or disagree, if you could change one thing with the prequels and one thing with the original trilogy, I want to throw that in there. One thing with the original trilogy, what would it be? Also, thank you, Clutter Stuff, for asking this question. It did take a while for me to really think of an answer. I wasn't sure what I was going to end up with at first. I wasn't sure how to answer it. So hopefully this works. Hopefully you like it. And share your opinion with me. Anyway, until next time, peace.